A wedding turns deadly when the groom's family hides a generations-old werewolf curse. They say a wedding is the happiest day of your life. But in the hills of Marrow Creek, there's an old chapel no one dares speak of, because once a groom in silver silk walked its aisle, and he never left. The story of a Silver Groom is not told in local books or pamphlets. It's passed between hushed voices at the old bar in town, whispered like a curse you don't want to attract. If you're lucky, you'll never hear the tale. But if you do, you're already too close. It begins with a chapel, a place now overgrown, crumbling beneath vines and time, but once grand. White stone walls, stained glass windows that bled color when the sun hit them just right, and a bell tower that used to ring out over the valley like a promise. Locals say it was built in 1891 by a wealthy railroad tycoon for his only daughter, Eleanor Margrave. She was to marry a man named Thomas Vale, a banker from the city. Everything about their union seemed perfect, until it wasn't. They say the wedding was set for mid-October, when the fog rolls heavy across Marrow Creek and the trees turn blood orange and gold. But on the morning of the ceremony, something went horribly wrong. Eleanor arrived, but Thomas did not. The carriage carrying him and his best man was found at the bottom of the ravine. Horses dead, coachman missing. The bodies inside, burned but not by fire. There was no wreckage, no smoke, no signs of an explosion. Just ash and something else. A slick residue, mercury-like, clinging to the crushed velvet seats. The few who touched it, some out of panic, others out of morbid curiosity, reported violent hallucinations in the days that followed. One man clawed out his own eyes. Another was found kneeling in the middle of the road, whispering wedding vows to no one. The wedding, of course, was canceled, but the chapel, it didn't forget. The first sighting came a year later, almost to the day. A group of teenage boys dared each other to sneak into the abandoned building at night. They brought lanterns, matches, and a flask of stolen whiskey. What they didn't bring was a way back. Only one returned. He was barefoot, bloodied, and covered in slivers of broken glass. He said nothing for days, just stared at the wall and repeated the same phrase. He was waiting. He wanted a witness. Doctors assumed a psychotic break. But when they examined his feet, they found something stranger. Embedded deep within the sole of his right foot was a shard of mirrored glass, still cold to the touch. Not jagged like window glass, but smooth, curved, and polished like the edge of a silver cufflink. After that, the chapel was sealed. The town quietly posted no trespassing signs. The forest grew thicker around it, and the road leading there faded into little more than gravel and bone-dry leaves. Still, once in a while, someone would go missing. Hikers, couples, curious ghost hunters, and always in October. The legend solidified over the decades. They called him the Silver Groom, a man in a spotless silver tuxedo, face smooth as wax, eyes reflecting the last thing you feared. He does not speak. He walks, slowly, methodically, and if he turns to face you, you must never, ever answer when he holds out his hand. Because he's not asking you to dance. He's asking you to join the wedding. In 1998, a photo surfaced on a forgotten internet forum. It showed a couple taking a selfie near the chapel ruins. Just behind them, partly obscured by a broken arch, stood a tall figure. Pale face, suit gleaming, one hand raised in mid-motion, as if brushing invisible dust from his sleeve. Users tried reverse image searching it. Some said it was edited. Others tried to trace the uploader. The account went dark within 48 hours. And then the girl in the photo, Emily Surridge, was reported missing by her parents. Her boyfriend, Michael, was found days later, sitting on a pew in the chapel's nave. He'd aged prematurely. His hair had gone completely white. He died 11 days later of cardiac arrest. At 23 years old, a retired sheriff named Calvin Deeks wrote a short memoir before his death in 2007. In one chapter, omitted from the published version but leaked online, he described investigating a noise complaint in the early 1980s. It was near the ruins of the Margrave Chapel. He claimed he and his deputy heard distant music, an organ, playing softly through the trees. At first, they thought someone was pulling a prank. But as they got closer, Deeks noticed something was wrong. The trees near the chapel weren't just still. They were dead. No insects, no rustle, no scent, just silence. And silver dust coating every branch. The sound grew louder. Wedding music. When they reached the clearing, the chapel appeared lit from within, though no windows remained intact. Through the shattered entryway, they saw rows of seated guests, all wearing veils, all perfectly still. Then the doors slammed shut, and the music stopped. Calvin Deeks never went back. He retired 2 years later. His deputy left town entirely and was never seen again. What's disturbing is that the Silver Groom doesn't always stay near the chapel. He's been spotted in mirrors, in shop windows, in puddles at the side of the road, always behind the viewer, always reaching out. Those who see him tend to receive something in the mail shortly after. An invitation, aged embossed, written in fine silver ink. No return address. Just this. You are cordially invited to the wedding of Eleanor Margrave and Thomas Vale. October 14th. Marrow Creek Chapel. Midnight. No one who receives the invitation survives the year. The last documented incident occurred in 2016. A paranormal YouTuber known for debunking haunted locations uploaded a video titled Ghost Wedding Chapel. Debunked. In it, he mocks the story, shows off the ruins, and even jokes about the Silver Groom being just a local myth. At the end of the video, he walks into the chapel. The camera cuts. Hard. The final frame? A single silver shoe print on the stone floor. Comments flooded in. Some praised the special effects. Others weren't so sure. The YouTuber was never heard from again. There's something almost ceremonial about the way it all unfolds. Those who die always vanish near reflective surfaces. Glass, water, chrome, and their bodies, when found, are always dressed in wedding attire. Even if they went missing in jeans and t-shirts. Even if they were children. Some say the Silver Groom is not a ghost, but a remnant. A psychic echo of a day that never happened. A wedding trapped in a loop, searching for closure or company. Others believe he is something older. A deity of ritual. A collector of promises unfulfilled. His form, that of a groom, is just a mask. A symbol of binding. Once you see him, the vows have already begun. So if you find yourself near Marrow Creek, and you hear the soft swell of an organ from the forest, and the wind tastes faintly like metal, don't stop, don't turn, and whatever you do, don't look into the glass. Because if you see a man in silver, he's not admiring your reflection. He's waiting for you to say, I do. But the story doesn't end with disappearances, cold invitations, or cryptic sightings. Not in a place like Marrow Creek. Because in the years that followed, something else began to happen. Something far more disturbing. People started dreaming of the chapel. They were scattered across the country, even the world. No known connections. No shared bloodlines. No visits to Marrow Creek. And yet, the dreams were identical. It always began in fog. Thick, white, choking. You couldn't see more than a foot in front of you. Then came a sound. A bell, warped and uneven, ringing from somewhere deep in the mist. And then you'd see it. A chapel on the hill. Stone cracked, but standing. Windows glowing faintly. A red carpet stretching out from the front steps like a tongue, curling toward your feet. Some described walking toward it involuntarily, their feet not moving, yet the door growing larger with every breath. Others said they tried to run, but the fog turned to glass, and they'd see him, standing at the altar. Silver tuxedo. No face, no mouth, just smooth, waxen skin. One hand outstretched, always the same hand, the right. And in the palm, not a ring, a key. In 2021, a sleep study in Oslo reported 14 patients describing identical dreams. When researchers dug deeper, they found a common thread. Each of them had, at some point, watched a video or read a forum post about the Silver Groom. None of them remembered doing so. Their browsers showed no history. Their phones had no such media saved. But their dreams were detailed. Too detailed to ignore. A neuropsychiatrist named Dr. Ingrid Salvet began digging into the phenomenon. She called it cognitive contagion through archetypal ritual. In layman's terms, A story so potent, so ancient, that it doesn't just spread like folklore, it installs itself. Like malware. And once it's in, it doesn't leave. Dr. Salvett's final interview was with a local Marrow Creek historian, a quiet, elderly woman named Ruth Pelling. The conversation was brief, but Ruth said something that unnerved even the seasoned psychiatrist. You're looking for the origin, but this thing? It doesn't have one. It's not a spirit. It's not even a legend. It's a promise. One our blood broke long ago. 3 days later, Salvett was found dead in her home, dressed in a wedding gown. Single stab wound to the chest. No weapon found. On the wall, written in silver nail polish, were 4 words. Do you take him? Even the town tried to forget. In 2009, the Marrow Creek Historical Society voted to bulldoze the chapel ruins. They said it was dangerous, a magnet for trespassers and teenagers with flashlights. But on the scheduled demolition day, the equipment wouldn't start. 3 excavators, 2 bulldozers, all had undergone maintenance the week prior. Batteries full, fuel tanks topped off, not a single engine turned over. One operator claimed his dashboard screen flickered to life, and instead of error codes, he saw a black and white photo. A bride, barefoot, eyes wide, standing in a field of mirrors. She wasn't looking at the camera. She was looking past it, behind him. The site was left untouched. Later that year, the Historical Society quietly disbanded. The president, Marshall Kenning, left town and was later found wandering outside a wedding venue in Wisconsin, weeping and clutching a bundle of dead lilies. But perhaps the most chilling account came from child. In 2013, a 9-year-old girl named Lila went missing during a family camping trip near Marrow Creek. Her parents searched the woods, screaming her name, for hours. She returned at dawn, clutching an invitation. Her dress was torn. Her shoes were gone, but she was unhurt. Physically, mentally, that was another matter. She didn't speak for weeks. Doctors said she was in shock, perhaps traumatized by something in the forest. But late one night, a nurse reported hearing her whisper a single phrase in her sleep over and over again. He said I was too small. He said I had to grow. Lila vanished again 5 years later, on the night of her 14th birthday. No signs of forced entry. No struggle. Just an open bedroom window and a wedding veil on the floor. Then came the mirrors. In 2024, a viral TikTok trend called #MirrorChallenge swept the internet. Users would film themselves walking backward into a mirror and pretending to be pulled inside. Most videos were playful. A few were even funny. But one stood out. It was filmed by a user named Aaron Unsaid. The video shows Aaron standing in front of an antique mirror, laughing nervously. Her caption reads, "Trying the #MirrorChallenge. Pray, I don't summon the groom, LOL." She takes a step back. The lights flicker. Her smile fades. Behind her, the mirror doesn't reflect the room. It shows pews, candles, a white aisle, and, at the far end, a figure. Tall, motionless. Erin turns around. No one is there. She looks back at the mirror. The figure is closer. Just before the video cuts, her face twists, not in fear, but confusion, as if she recognizes him. The video ends. She hasn't posted since. Her account? Deleted. Her phone? Mailed to her parents from an unknown address. Inside the package was one other item, a silver cufflink. Still warm. Researchers now refer to the Silver Groom phenomenon as a reflective ritual entity, a being that doesn't haunt places but moments, reflections of things unfulfilled. Regret, promises broken, vows never kept. They believe the groom isn't bound to the chapel. It's the idea of the wedding that binds him. The ritual, the roles, the music, the waiting. And the more people learn his name, the more people say the words aloud, the stronger the ritual becomes, like a rehearsal gathering its audience. You might wonder, if the groom is real, if he's this powerful, why hasn't he been stopped? The truth is they tried. In 1974, a private occult society from Massachusetts called the Order of the Argent Vow conducted a binding ritual at the chapel site. Their notes, now declassified, speak of candles made from tallow, rings of salt and silver, and a blood sacrifice willingly given. They were attempting to trap the groom, to make him remember death. But something went wrong. The circle was broken, not by wind or accident, but by laughter, nervous laughter, the kind that slips from your throat when you're afraid, the kind that can be mistaken for acceptance. The next morning, four members were found inside the chapel, frozen, upright, as if attending a wedding. Their eyes were sealed with wax, their mouths stitched shut with wire, and their hands, each and every one, were holding invitation cards. The final page of the ritual log reads, "We forgot one rule. You cannot bind a groom who never made it to the altar." And that brings us to you, because if you've listened this far, if you've read every word, if you felt the chill rise up your neck, you've already been noticed. Don't look at your reflection right now. Not in the window, not on your phone, not even in your coffee, because sometimes he's already there, waiting, smiling, holding out his hand. And if you so much as think of reaching back, you'll feel the veil settle on your shoulders. You'll hear the organ in the distance. You'll taste silver on your tongue, and the wedding will begin.